Good evening, everyone. You know, life has this strange way of testing your strength. Sometimes it doesn't whisper your name, it shouts it. Especially when you begin to stand out. Especially when you're about to rise. Have you ever noticed how, the moment you start glowing, someone tries to dim your light? When someone suddenly starts bullying you, mocking you, or targeting your uniqueness, the first instinct is to ask, "What's wrong with me?" But here's the truth, there's nothing wrong with you. Most of the time, bullying isn't about you at all. It's a reflection of the pain, fear, or insecurity the other person is carrying. Bullies don't target people who are weak. They target people who awaken something in them that they don't know how to handle. Maybe it's your confidence. Maybe it's your smile in the middle of chaos. Maybe it's just the fact that you dare to show up as your full, unapologetic self, and that intimidates them. People don't attack what they don't notice. They don't spend time criticizing people who don't matter. So, ironically, when someone bullies you, it's because they do notice you. You've triggered something in them. Maybe a memory of what they once wanted to be, or a fear that you might succeed where they failed. That kind of emotional discomfort, it can make people mean. It can turn their own wounds into weapons. But that's not your burden to carry. You are not responsible for someone else's unhealed pain, and you don't need to internalize their cruelty as your truth. When you walk into a room and own your space, speak your truth, or show kindness in a world that often doesn't reward it. Some people won't know what to do with that. They might call you too much, too different, too loud. But that's just a disguise for their discomfort. It's easier for them to laugh at your sparkle than to admit they've lost their own. So they point fingers, they whisper, they exclude. Not because you're weak, but because you make them confront parts of themselves they'd rather ignore. That's what real confidence does. It exposes those pretending to have it. It's important to recognize that bullying often comes from people who haven't yet learned how to love themselves. They project their own fear of rejection, their self-doubt, their feelings of not being onto you. You, who might be walking a little taller these days. You, who finally found the courage to speak up. You, who said no when you were expected to stay quiet. That strength reminds them of their silence. Your light reminds them of how long they've been in the dark. And instead of healing, they hurt. That's not your fault. That's not your story. If someone's behavior suddenly shifts from friendly to mean, from neutral to hostile, pause and look deeper. Did you start changing? Did you stop shrinking? Did you say yes to something big or scary or beautiful? That shift in energy often triggers the people who benefited from your silence. You didn't do anything wrong. You just stopped apologizing for existing. And that makes people who still live in fear very uncomfortable. They see in you a level of bravery they haven't yet unlocked in themselves. And rather than celebrate you, they try to pull you back into the box you just broke out of. So the next time someone mocks you, doubts you, or tries to tear you down, remember this: their words are not a reflection of your worth. They're a reflection of their wounds. Their behavior isn't about your truth. It's about their fear. And the more you rise, the more those fears will reveal themselves in others. But don't stop, don't bend, don't shrink. Because bullying is never the voice of power. It's the cry of someone who hasn't found theirs yet. And your job is to keep shining anyway. There's a quiet shift that happens when you start to grow. When you begin choosing yourself, chasing your dreams, or simply healing from the things that used to hold you back. Suddenly, the people around you who once clapped for you may start to grow silent. And then the whispers begin, the side eyes, the subtle digs. Why? Because your growth becomes a mirror. It reflects the things others haven't yet faced within themselves. Your courage to evolve, to move forward, or to dream louder becomes a threat. Not because you're doing something wrong, but because you're doing something different. And different shakes the ground under those who've gotten too comfortable standing still. When you level up, whether emotionally, mentally, professionally, or spiritually, you unknowingly disrupt the balance others have created around who they think you are. People love consistency, even in the version of you they've stored in their minds. The moment you break that mold, it challenges their perception. You're no longer the quiet one, the always available one, the one who played small so others could feel big. You're no longer who they remember. And that can be terrifying for them, because now they can't predict you. And people fear what they can predict. The strange part is, it's often not strangers who resist your growth. It's the people closest to you. Friends, coworkers, even family members may begin to question you, criticize you, or say things like you've changed. But isn't that the whole point of life? To change, to become better, wiser, freer. Unfortunately, your glow up may remind others of the goals they've abandoned, the potential they've ignored, or the comfort zones they're afraid to leave. And rather than confronting their own stagnation, they make your evolution the enemy. It's easier that way. Blame you for outgrowing them, instead of admitting they chose not to grow at all. You might start hearing things like, "You think you're better than us now?" Or, "You've forgotten where you came from." But it's not arrogance that's causing the distance. It's alignment. You're aligning with your future while they're still clinging to your past. And instead of asking how they, too, can rise, they try to pull you back. Not because they truly want the old you, but because the new you forces them to feel left behind. And for people who fear change, being left behind is more painful than staying stuck. So they criticize, they gossip, they isolate, all as a way to feel powerful again in a reality where they're no longer growing. What many won't admit is that it's not your success that bothers them. It's their silence. It's not your confidence, it's their self-doubt. It's not that you're doing too much, it's that they're doing too little. Growth shines a light, and not everyone is ready to be seen. Some people will label your progress as fake, just because they've never seen the real you bloom. And they won't clap for you, not because you don't deserve it, but because your strength reminds them of the strength they gave up on. That's not a reflection of your journey. It's a reflection of their refusal to start theirs. So, if the room starts feeling colder when you begin to rise, don't be surprised. Growth separates. It reveals. It filters. Not everyone can go where you're going. Not everyone wants to. And that's okay. You weren't meant to dim your light just to make others feel comfortable in the dark. You were meant to shine so others could be reminded of their own spark. Some will celebrate that. Others will resent it. But none of that should stop your growth. Keep evolving. Let them be uncomfortable. That's not your burden. That's the cost of becoming you. Have you ever noticed how the moment you begin to change for the better, the room starts to feel colder? People who once cheered for you start going quiet, and the energy shifts. Not because you've done anything wrong, but because something in you is starting to rise. And that rise makes others uneasy. When you begin to glow, you shed the version of yourself that made others feel safe. You stop agreeing just to avoid conflict. You start setting boundaries. You dream louder, love yourself harder, and suddenly that's too much for people who are still standing in place. Your progress shines a light, and some people don't want to be seen in that glow. It's a strange truth. Your growth can feel like a personal attack to those who aren't growing. It confronts their comfort zone. It exposes the stories they tell themselves about why they haven't changed. And instead of being inspired, some choose to criticize you because that's easier than doing the work on themselves. They'll say you've changed, as if that's a bad thing. But isn't that the point? Isn't that what we're all here to do? To grow, to be evolved, to become better than who we were yesterday. The ones who truly love you will celebrate that. The ones who are afraid of losing the old you will start to resist it. Certainly. Here are 6 powerful and emotionally engaging paragraphs that explore the idea. Shrinking yourself won't keep you safe. Written without headings or a conclusion, and designed to captivate and resonate deeply with the audience. There's a heartbreaking lie that many of us learn too early, that if we just tone it down, stay quiet, or make ourselves smaller, the world will be kinder to us. We believe that if we don't stand out, maybe the bullies won't notice us. Maybe we won't be judged. Maybe we won't be seen as a threat. And so we start folding parts of ourselves away, hiding our talents, softening our voices, lowering our gaze, and calling it humility. But the truth is, no matter how small you try to make yourself, it won't stop people from targeting you. Because hate doesn't stop when you disappear. It often grows louder when it senses fear. In trying to protect yourself by shrinking, you don't just lose the spotlight. You begin to lose your identity. You say yes when your heart screams no. You laugh quietly when you want to roar. You trade authenticity for acceptance. But here's the catch. Acceptance based on a watered down version of you is not real acceptance. It's conditional approval. And the worst part, you start to forget what the full version of you even looked like. You become so used to hiding that even when there's no threat, you don't know how to come out and shine again. That's not safety. That's silent suffering. People who want to control you, silence you, or keep you small will never be satisfied, no matter how much you give up, because it was never about you being too loud or too bold. It was about them feeling powerless in your presence. So every inch you give, they'll take a mile. You can shrink until you almost disappear, and they'll still find something wrong. That's because their issue isn't your confidence. It's their insecurity. And bending yourself to fit their comfort doesn't protect your peace. It only hands your power to people who never deserved it in the first place. You were not born to blend in. You were born with gifts, fire, ideas, and a presence that's meant to be felt. When you dim your light to make others comfortable, you're not being polite. You're abandoning your own magic. And for what? So people can love a version of you that doesn't even exist. So you can survive in a world that was never meant to define your worth. There's nothing noble about hiding who you are. There's nothing safe about playing small when your soul was built to stand tall. The world may not clap for your authenticity right away, but staying true to yourself is the only real freedom you'll ever know. It takes more courage to be seen than it does to disappear. But being seen is how you take your life back. It's how you show others, especially the ones who are watching from the shadows, that it's okay to be bold, to be bright, to be different. You don't inspire others by making yourself smaller. You inspire by standing fully in your truth, even when your voice shakes, even when you're scared, even when it would be easier to fade into the background. Your presence has power, and every time you refuse to shrink, you remind the world that strength doesn't always look like loudness. It often looks like choosing to take up space in a room that told you not to. So if you've ever found yourself hiding, shrinking, trying to be less so that others can feel more, let this be your permission to stop. Stop making yourself smaller for people who don't even know how to handle your greatness. Stop dimming a light they never helped you ignite. The real safety isn't in disappearing. It's in being fully you unapologetically. And yes, it might make some people uncomfortable. But those are not your people. Your people will never ask you to shrink. They will ask you to shine, even brighter. There will be moments in life when people will doubt you, disrespect you, and deliberately try to bring you down. Not because you failed them, but because you dared to believe in yourself. They will gossip about your dreams, laugh at your beginnings, and question your every move. And in those moments, you'll feel the urge to clap back, to defend yourself, to prove your worth through confrontation. But here's the truth. Fighting back with words doesn't silence the noise. It only feeds it. What silences it, what truly shakes the room, is when you succeed anyway. When you keep building, keep showing up, and let your wins do the talking. There is something undeniably powerful about quiet focus. It's not loud, it doesn't beg for attention. But it commands respect. When you take all that pain, all that negativity, and pour it into your growth, that's where your strength becomes unstoppable. You don't need to scream your worth to people who are committed to misunderstanding you. You simply rise. You keep moving forward. You show them that their opinions were just background noise in a story far bigger than their criticism. Because while they were busy watching, you were working. And while they were hoping you'd fall, you were rising in silence. Revenge might feel tempting. We're human. Of course we want to show them, prove them wrong, serve that justice hot. But revenge burns energy you could use to build something brilliant. It keeps you tied to their version of the story. And that version, it's too small for you now. You don't have time to sink to their level when you're climbing towards something greater. You don't need to match their disrespect with anger. Your peace, your elevation, your progress, it speaks louder than any comeback ever could. Let your glow be so bright that it blinds the ones who only ever saw you in shadows. People rarely expect you to survive the storms they throw your way, let alone thrive after them. So imagine the power in walking back into the room, not with revenge, but with results. Not to argue, but to achieve. Your success doesn't just silence critics. It transforms the narrative. The same people who doubted you will start whispering your name with awe. The same ones who dismissed you will quote your journey as inspiration. Not because you fought them, but because you outgrew them. You turned their hate into fuel, their insults into motivation. You became the version of yourself that even they couldn't ignore. When you focus on your own lane, on becoming better, stronger, wiser, you stop needing external validation. The applause no longer matters because you're already proud of who you're becoming. You no longer chase revenge because you realize there is no sweeter response than peace of mind and purpose. That's real power. Not needing to prove anything. Just living in your truth so unapologetically that even the ones who doubted you can't help but see the glow. That kind of growth, it can't be faked. It can't be denied. It's built in the fire, and that's exactly where you rose from. So let them talk. Let them doubt. Let them misunderstand who you are today. You don't owe them an explanation. You owe yourself a future. One where your focus is sharp, your energy is sacred, and your wins are loud enough to be your only reply. Because in the end, success is not just about trophies or money. It's about rising above, becoming whole, and showing up for yourself in a world that tried to dim your light. Let that be your response. Let that be your story. When people start trying to dim your light, it's usually because it's shining a little too bright for their comfort. You see, no one throws stones at what isn't glowing. The fact that you're being noticed, talked about, or targeted isn't a reflection of your weakness. It's proof of your power. People don't bother tearing down what they don't see as a threat. They see something in you, even if they can't name it. It could be your confidence, your potential, your passion, or just the way you walk into a room and own your space. Whatever it is, it unsettles something in them. And instead of doing the inner work, they try to silence what makes you shine. What they don't understand is that the more they try to dim you, the more noticeable you become. The moment people sense you stepping into your power, embracing who you are, or rising beyond limitations, that's when the attacks begin. Not because you're doing anything wrong, but because you're doing something right. You're evolving. You're growing. You're choosing not to shrink. And to those who have stayed stagnant, your growth is uncomfortable. It reflects the parts of themselves they've abandoned. That's why they criticize. That's why they whisper. That's why they mock. But don't be fooled. The noise is actually admiration in disguise. You might be walking through a season where it feels like the more you succeed, the more resistance you face. But resistance is the universe's way of sharpening you. Pressure builds diamonds and attention. Yes, even negative attention is proof that you're not invisible anymore. The world has noticed you. You've stirred something. You've become a presence that cannot be ignored. And sometimes that makes people uncomfortable. But the solution is not to hide. It's not to shrink. It's to keep going, because you're already breaking through barriers that others are too afraid to approach. Bullies don't target the invisible. They target the visible. The ones with a voice. The ones with vision. The ones who are bold enough to stand tall in a world that tries to keep everyone quiet. And while it may hurt to be misunderstood or unfairly treated, understand this. Their actions are not a judgment of your value. They're a confirmation of it. You're not the problem. You're the proof that strength exists, that authenticity matters, that power, when owned unapologetically, makes people feel something they can't always explain. And instead of leaning into that feeling, they attack it. So the next time someone tries to belittle you, doubt you, or push you down, remind yourself, this is what being powerful looks like. It comes with weight. It comes with eyes on you. It comes with both admiration and envy. But none of that should change how you show up in the world. You're not here to be palatable. You're not here to dim yourself for other people's comfort. You're here to live fully, love boldly, and stand firmly in your truth. And yes, some will try to take that away. But they can't unless you give it to them. And you won't. Your power isn't just in what you've done. It's in who you are. It's in the way you keep rising after every fall. The way you keep speaking even when your voice shakes. And the way you dare to be seen in a world that constantly tells you to hide. That's real power. That's rare power. So let them talk. Let them point. Let them try. Because the fact that they're even watching means you're already ahead. Keep going. Keep glowing. You were never meant to fit in. You were meant to stand out. And clearly, you already are. So the next time you feel the sting of criticism, judgment, or bullying, remember this: it's not a reflection of your weakness. It's a reaction to your strength. You are not too much. You are not the problem. You are a force that unsettles the silence, a light that reveals truth, and a reminder that greatness cannot go unnoticed. Let their noise be your motivation, not your measurement. Keep growing, keep rising, keep showing up exactly as you are. Bold, brilliant, and unapologetically powerful. Because your presence alone is proof that you're already winning. And the world needs more of that. The world needs more of you.